Hello, I'm Cheyenne Schroeder, Assistant Editor of the Hutchinson News. Today we're talking to different candidates about the different positions that they're running for. Go ahead and give me your name, where you're from, what you're running for.
My name is Brett Fairchild. I'm from St. John, and I'm running for state representative in the 113th district.
Okay, why run for a state representative?
Well, I've always been really interested in politics. I've always done a lot of political research, and I just don't really agree with the direction that our state is going in as far as the tax increases that were passed and the big spending increases were passed this year, and I'm just more fiscally conservative in my views, and so I'm just promoting more efficient government, lower taxes, less spending, and the things that the Republican Party platform stands for.
Okay, is spending and taxes some of the major issues that aren't working right now in Kansas? Are there other ones that...
Those are some of the major issues, but if you look at the sales tax rate on food in Kansas, it's one of the highest in the entire nation. It's 6.5%. There's only a few states that are higher, and then when you combine the local taxes, it's over 10% in some places. So if you're a family and you go grocery shopping for your family and you buy $100 worth of food, that's another $10 a tax, and that really hurts working families in our state. And so I've advocated phasing out the state sales tax on food grocery in our state, and that's an idea that has bipartisan support as well, because there's both Republicans and Democrats. There's even Democrats in the state legislature that have co-sponsored that as well. And so I think since eliminating or reducing that tax has bipartisan support, that's something that we could potentially get done, and something that I would push for if I were in the legislature.
Okay. Is that the only primary solution there, or are there some other things that could change to improve more responsible spending, lower taxes, that kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. When it comes to education spending, it seems like they only care about the total amount of money that's spent on education, and I've talked about spending money more efficiently rather than just always talking about the total amount that's spent. And in our state, in a lot of areas of our state, especially the bigger school districts, you're seeing huge increases in pay for administrators and only very small increases and sometimes no increase for teachers. And so I've talked about putting some type of a cap on administrative pay within education. I floated the number 100,000, but it might have to be more complex than that, or a different number. But I've always talked about the idea of putting a cap on administrative pay, or perhaps putting a cap on the number of positions, because administrative positions in our state have been going way up as well. And so I just think that education in our state is way too top heavy. Not enough money is actually getting into the classroom and going to teachers. And so I've just said, instead of having these huge increases in education spending, we'll just spend the money more efficiently, not have it be so top heavy, and get more money into the classroom.
Okay. Do you see money as the primary focus of things that really need to change in Kansas? Are there other things that are going well, or additional issues that are feeding into those problems?
I mean, I've also talked about how I'm strongly pro-life. I take the view of the Republican Party that life should be defended at the moment of conception, and so I've talked about passing the Life at Conception Act here in Kansas. It's based on a federal bill that was introduced by Senator Rand Paul that would define life as beginning at conception, and it would say that unborn children have legal protections under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution.
Okay. Now, another issue that's kind of coming into play here with the race for governor happening this year is that voter apathy is becoming a lot more prominent. Could you tell me a little bit about ways to improve voter turnout, different aspects that you've looked into?
A lot of times it's always just conservative versus liberal, Republican versus Democrat, and people just don't ever have any new ideas, or they don't ever have like a combination of views from both parties. And I've advocated views that have bipartisan support. Like, for example, I've talked about the need to have medical marijuana in our state, and we're one of the only states in the entire country that doesn't recognize any medical value at all from marijuana. But yet, if you look at the states that have implemented that, the opioid epidemic is, far less severe in those states that have implemented medical marijuana, because it's a natural substance that people use, and there's not as much need for the opioid prescriptions in those states. And so I think it would be something that would be really helpful to our state. And you have parents who have sick kids who have to move out to Colorado just to get medication for their kids who have seizures or who have other health problems. And so I think, stuff like that would be really helpful, and that I think that shows that I have bipartisan positions, and I think that having that kind of an open mind and being bipartisan can get more voters out to the polls and say, well, this is someone who represents something different. He's not just a typical Republican or typical conservative, but he's a independent, open-minded person. And I think, I could potentially get voters who are apathetic to come to the polls and support me in my campaign.
Okay, great. Well, hey, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much for watching.